if I have to just put it around like product manager versus community manager, what is the similarity over there? And the second part could be what is the difference? Like,
To be honest, I think product managers will be great community managers because
right.
90% of the principles are the same, right? If you're early in that product career, you will have to talk to
Correct.
users, there you'll have to talk to members, there you will have
Yeah.
to do things that don't scale, here you will have to do things that
Correct.
don't scale. I think 90% principles remain similar. It's just one thing that I feel in community management is
Hey Suhas, how are you doing?
yeah, no, all good. Lovely to finally be doing this. I know we had a bunch of
Yeah,
reschedules. We're pretty excited
yeah,
to be here.
yeah. I think this one was like super important in the Product Woman podcast because you are legit running, I would say, a cartel in India of product folks, which is also essentially called as the product folks. So yeah, it is. I think it is like super important for, at least in India, that we should have a chat with you. Like, so I've been thinking about this from a long time. I know like we are very close to each other in terms of we meet and stuff like that. But then as a professional, um, I know what you have done for the whole, like the product community that you have seen in India. So yeah, first of all, I would start with a thank you. I think if I have to see this industry with a celeb, with the actual celeb, I would actually consider you as one of them. Do you have anything to talk about this with the
No,
starting of this praise?
to be honest, I think it's just been super kind. Uh, it's not something that I would have ever expected for product management one to grow into what it is today. I think every single
Yeah,
person wants to become a product manager today, and that's probably fueled the growth. And the
yeah,
underlying fact to that is because there was so much venture capital that flew into our ecosystem
Hmm.
because we saw so
Right,
many interesting startups come up. Each of them
correct.
needed, an interesting, a very nice product to come out, and that's when we saw,
Yeah,
okay, product
we
managers
need
needed.
more
So that's
product people. Yeah.
correct,
Mm.
correct. So probably not something that I expected, to be very honest. I think
Mm-mm.
it started with
Yeah,
just me trying to meet interesting people. I think
correct.
that definitely happened, and along
Happened.
the way,
Yeah.
because of different factors, and like I always say, I think in every pod that I've been on, I've just said that none of this could have been a one man show, and I think every
Right.
community. I love the word you use. I think the product cartel. I'm going to
Yeah.
like rename one of our initiatives
I
to the
know,
product
right?
cartel. It is
Yeah. Yeah.
it is a nice one.
So here's my thing with India and even in general. I think we glorify a lot around when it comes to like people who are making change. We restrict ourselves to cricketers or Bollywood and Hollywood and things like that. Which is essentially one of my things that, why can't we talk about these great engineers who are handling like, or building like AWS, for example, right? It's
Exactly.
a, it's legit powering the whole world's internet, if I would say, right?
100%.
Similarly, I just like, because I'm part of the product community in general, and myself up as a product manager, a half of it, right? A lot of building stuff that I've done. So yeah, I was like, let me just just talked about the people behind it. Like it's like so important to also understand the other side of the world. But yeah, I think that's the goal, and I'm like super happy to have you. Yeah, I think just to begin with, I'm pretty sure you don't really need like an introduction, but yeah, if someone from outside as listeners, can you just begin with like a little bit about yourself? If you can start talking about yourself a little bit and like a little bit of a background, and then probably we'll have a conversation right from there.
For sure, for sure. My full time until very recently was with PepsiCo, where I was working building internal
Correct.
um, tools and products. One of the latest ones that we were working on was in the financial planning and analytics space. On the side, like you already mentioned, I think currently running one of Asia's largest product communities today. We are about
Correct.
150,000 strong, and within
Yeah.
this, I think we've been brainstorming on a bunch of different stuff, right? So I think
Yeah.
very very excited to see the foundations in place today. And I think it is super important to now start building verticals and building, really curated communities where people derive more value out of it. So I think
Right.
these are two places that I'm spending a lot of time. I think over the next 6-12 months, definitely want to at least help grow this, and been iterating on a couple of side projects. I think one of them,
Yeah.
Indistractable, which is at about 1 million downloads. It's just a two-member
Yeah.
team. So think of
Yeah.
that as indie project. Way back in
Correct.
the day, I think indie hackers was very popular, and
Yeah.
I met my co-founder through
Just
one of
two
the
just 2 years back.
just 2 years back. Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
We in fact used to run the Bangalore Meetups. Like there was a Bangalore
Yeah.
indie hackers chapter, and that's where
Correct.
Devansh and me met. We had met earlier also, but
Mm.
that's where we started
Mm.
hacking on Indistractable.
Ideas and
And
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, that was very interesting. I met a couple of very very kind folks, I'd say, through the indie hackers
Yeah.
community. It's a very different
Yeah.
vibe there when you compare it
Mm.
to the kind of folks we meet
Right.
here. And
Yeah.
another one of our co-founders at the Product Folks, Aditya,
Mm.
he
Mm.
and I have recently been dabbling in a bunch of products. So I think
Right. Right.
that's where I've been spending my time, a little bit in communities, a little bit in products, and
Yeah.
like the next couple of quarters, want to figure this bit out.
Right, right. And then by this itself, I think my our listeners would have understood that the kind of work that you do and like how you divided you are. I have the biggest question of your life, and I think this is like every time we talk about it. When does Suhas Motwani sleep?
You know this answer. This is scandalous to
But
reveal on a
but
podcast.
the but the world would like to like listen to it about it. Like
I'll
how do
twist
you?
the question, Arnab. How many times have we spoken on call before 12 a.m.? Almost
I think
never.
never.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. But I think
That's
I'm
true.
probably a little
Uh,
more active,
mm,
where I get a little bit more
at
deep
night.
work done
Mm,
post midnight. Reason being, I think
mm,
probably during the day, there's a lot of work that
right.
either comes up on the full time side, there is community
Yeah.
stuff that goes on. So you don't really get
True.
time to sit and think. Your messages are always buzzing. And I don't think that's super
Correct. Correct.
productive,
Correct.
but I think as
Mm,
someone who needs to unblock, if you're in a
yeah.
position where you need to unblock, I think you need to be available for your teams.
Yeah.
So I think this is something that works for me, right? The time blocking.
Yeah.
People probably block out early mornings, midday, afternoon. For me, I
Mm,
think late night works out where I think the world is
true.
a more peaceful place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Probably things
If
will
you
change.
need to do some deep
Yeah,
work, you probably need that night. Yeah. Makes sense.
exactly. So
Correct.
yeah, it's been a couple of late nights, not couple. It's been
Yeah.
months or years of late.
Almost every day. It's a
Yeah,
late night. But yeah,
yeah,
I think we both are based out of India, but then we are sort of operating out of US kind
exactly.
of
Right.
stuff. I don't know, like I think that's how things work. And I have just come to this point where I've just told myself that, biological clocks are for real, and whatever you feel like is right, just do that.
Exactly. I think that is what it is. I think lots of the advice on every founder should wake up at 4 a.m. I don't think if you're productive at 4
Yeah,
a.m., do it.
true.
If you're not productive, not every
Yeah,
founder or every successful founder wakes up early. They've just figured
yeah.
out their clocks. And exactly like what you said, right? If you're building a
Mm,
SaaS product from India for the US
mm,
world, you
yeah,
need to be
true.
available on their time. You cannot say,
Yeah,
okay, I'll work my
true.
9 to 6, and
Yeah, yeah,
while
true.
their world sleeps, I'm going to figure out somewhere to. It just doesn't happen,
Correct,
right?
correct, correct,
I think it's
correct,
all
correct. No,
it's all
true.
very very contextual. That
Huh.
4 a.m. theory is not,
Yeah,
it's generalized beyond the point. Just
yeah,
do what works for you till a time that works
yeah.
for you. Maybe you and me also might not do this forever, right? It is a certain
Yeah, yeah,
time.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Correct, correct. No, we for sure need to look at some sun because we need it for our health also. But
Agreed,
then,
exactly.
yeah, but then,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I
not
think
not
that,
recommending
yeah,
this for sure. Not
yeah, yeah, yeah,
recommending this
yeah.
for sure. Do what
It's just
works for you.
insiders of what we are doing, right? So
Aspirations, yeah, exactly.
no, I think it's totally makes sense of what you just picked up, right? Which is waking up at 4 a.m. and then getting the world, um, which is also the fact that I think this whole quotes are coming from when people are sort of operating in like upper level stuff. I think you would be a lot of in execution as well, right? When you are into execution, you probably need to be, like as you said, you need to be there for everyone, because it is execution plus also helping out others. Like that's how the model that at least I have seen
True.
working with you, right? So that's there. But then just coming back to, like our questions. How did exactly, like, what was that trigger point? And I'm sure people would have asked you this 100 times, but what was that parallel world basically look like, where you said like, okay, now the product folks is a thing, right? What was that epiphany day, like, like that day when you felt like, yeah, yeah, this is something that, I've just cracked today, and probably I should, continue doing this, because I know about the story. It was, I think,
Yeah.
2018, 2017, where
19.
everyone was, yeah, 19 sort of thing, where we were all trying to figure out this community. And then one
Yeah.
fine day, we saw like Suhas Motwani sort of, buzzing around in Twitter that there are so many, you know, there's so many community huddles and community, things that was going on, at least in the product community, for people who don't know about it. Um, it was 2019 when, everyone started looking at it like, okay, there is a thing, like I can actually, there are other product managers. Like, that was the funniest part, is that everyone was just now thinking that, okay, there are people like me who
Exactly.
has just come around together. But yeah, just, I mean, not maybe, if you don't want to talk about the whole story, I just want to understand like how this sort of became like a thing, like you now operate like a business, if I have to say it.
Yeah.
Like, I do look at it more like a
Startup. An
organization, yeah,
organization. Yeah.
startup organization, which is very planned in nature. People are dedicated to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just wanted to understand that.
Yeah. I think the closest parallel will be like a cooperative, right? I think that's a word that
Huh.
I've recently discovered. I
Started,
think
yeah.
communities are
Mm.
very, very close to cooperative, because that is the structure. I'd say function like a startup, position
Mm.
yourself like a cooperative, and
Mm.
eventually, I think that's the best definition I found for a community. Right? Why startup? Because
Right.
you need the speed, you need the momentum. Right? The bigger
Correct.
you get, the slower things happen. So you need to always
Yeah,
be in
yeah,
that
yeah.
mindset that, hey, you know that just because it's a community doesn't mean you can be lax about something. Right? You can still
Correct, correct,
produce the very best. Right? That has to be the at
correct.
least the aim. Right? Just because you're a
Right.
community doesn't mean, okay, like there are so many people who find excuses just because we're a community,
Hmm.
right? No, right? It's
Right.
fine. It takes more time. Agreed. There are different challenges, but challenge yourself to go and be, the best at what you do. There could be startups in the same space who raise millions
Mm.
of dollars. It doesn't matter,
Mm.
right? If you are
Yeah.
providing value, if you are able, like your
Yeah.
core thesis shouldn't change because of that, right?
Correct.
Um,
Correct. True.
and like you rightly said, I think we've evolved over time. You asked me
Yeah.
about, hey, when did you think, okay, TPF became a thing? I'll tell you,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's been a multiple times for me. It's not been one such
Mm.
incident. But
Correct.
like I'll give you a couple of examples. One was definitely when we were able to get speakers from the valley, right? We're all boys
Mm.
brought up in India, all
Yeah.
grassroots, right? I don't think we have
Yeah.
very senior product people early on in our team.
Correct.
Today, yes.
Correct. 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 True.
So
I
when
think
you're a
even
grass,
in general, like the product management world, sort of defined like 20 years back. And then again, like these guys, like people outside, had a professional way to look at it. It came after like probably 10 years or so in India as well. Like, if I'm
correct.
not wrong. Yeah.
Correct. Maybe a little more, 10, 15 years, I'd say,
Yeah.
would be where we would have
Yeah.
started off.
Correct.
Before that, it was very, very sparse, some small organizations where you'd see before that. But a good time, I'd say,
Hmm.
is around the 2010 era is where we started seeing a
Hmm.
lot more of it.
Correct.
Because those are largely
Yeah.
internal people who moved back from the US. They know the function.
Hmm.
So you see very few
Yeah.
who are in that 17, 18, 2 decade frame.
Hmm.
And those are also
Correct.
transitionary roles, right? Those would have been
Right.
program
Right. Right.
managers,
Right.
project managers,
Yeah.
product
Who
owners.
understands tech
Correct.
and
Exactly.
understands the communication as well. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Hmm.
So I think for us, these small wins, right? Like especially when we went
Hmm.
into the pandemic, the entire community coming together and running India COVID resources, right? I had not seen
Correct.
anything like if TPF
Yeah.
hadn't existed, I can assure you,
Yeah.
I don't think India COVID resources would have come together, right?
Correct. 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 True.
Those kind of small things. Second, I think when
Hmm.
you cold email speakers that are very, very
Hmm.
high up, 15, 20 years of experience,
Yeah.
who haven't even
Yeah.
heard about you. I'm talking about early days, right? A
Yeah.
year into
Yeah.
TPF. And
Yeah. Yeah.
people across the valley, people who we've also just
Hmm.
discovered on Twitter, on LinkedIn, online. And
Correct.
you drop them a message and they reply to
Yeah.
you, and you can actually pull off a session with them. I think that was a
Correct.
highlight. I still remember the first session we pulled off with Shreyas Doshi. And
Hmm.
that time we had to borrow a Zoom account because our Zoom account could maximum allow 100
Have
people, and we had
100.
2,000
Yeah.
people live on that session. So,
Oh,
small wins like these really
yeah.
make you feel, okay, hey, we're going in the right direction. There is some
Correct.
value to what we're doing, right? And
Hmm.
lots of these things have not even
Hmm.
been replicated by those startups that have had
Yeah.
millions. Yes, they can
Yeah.
replicate your course content, they can replicate your
Hmm.
structure. We're seeing these,
Hmm.
right? We're seeing the
Hmm.
same course curriculum people, funded startups launch it, the same
Correct.
structure they're taking. That is all
Yeah.
okay, right? We're still very
Yeah.
open source. We're not going to. Please take it. But
Hmm. Hmm.
in 3 years of time, I don't think anyone has still been able to level up from that point of view.
Hmm.
I think that is where I think
True.
we have a unique advantage. And even the internal motto has always been that always keep leveling
Hmm.
up, right? We're probably
Hmm.
going to do better than what we did last year. Take all the
Right.
feedback from the community. We're very, very stringent
Correct.
about, every session you'll see at least three, four
Uh-huh.
times we'll be like, okay,
Every
please,
times, yeah. Every time there's a feedback form after
correct.
the speaker has spoken. Yeah. Makes
Correct.
sense.
And I feel communities are a place of experimentation. While there will
Hmm.
be one, two, three marquee initiatives that are going through,
Right.
you need to continuously keep experimenting on the smaller thing because
Right.
even in startups, right, based on your bandwidth,
Hmm.
here I think the idea is okay. Out of all your experiments, there will be like all of the bigger initiatives, Insurjo, for example, today, Ally,
Yeah.
for example, TED on, all these started with an experiment. No, we didn't know it will
Correct.
work or not. Right.
Correct.
Today they are
Correct.
flagship. Right. Today we've done them
Yeah.
consistently. It's grown year on year. But
Yeah.
if we stop doing those other experiments, saying that okay, we don't have bandwidth or maybe this won't work, then none of these initiatives would have come out and be today what it
Correct.
is. Right. So
Correct.
I would draw parallels between building communities, building products, building startups. 80-85% of the principles remain very, very similar, right?
Right.
Product may also you need to keep doing your experimentations. Communities is a
Right.
platform of experimentations, right? So draw
Yeah.
parallels, continue doing that. And
Yeah.
like I said, I think for us it's been a series of small wins.
Small
Um,
wins. Yeah.
yeah, and that drives more confidence in what you're doing.
Hmm.
So,
Correct. But then I think this also needs a lot of attitude as well, right? That, why are we stopping? Like, at least what has happened with me in general is that I did have started like multiple sort of communities in times and times, but then I think this also needs an attitude that this is community is not like just a thing, right? It is like something that you have sort of imbibed in yourself, and you sort of came up every day, showed up every day,
yeah,
and you are here where you are, right? I think this is also like super important for people to understand is community is actually difficult. It actually needs a attitude. I'm not sure how to define probably Suhas Motwani in this case, but then that every day when I look at you and you're like, like let's do this, let's do that. I think the fundamental comes from here, and you can probably tell me like if this is right or not. I think fundamental basically comes here is that community is all about giving first. When
hmm,
people sort of start trusting, or you have that trust, right, that this person, if I go over there, they will just make sure that this person will make sure that to help me out with. So yeah, I think it is all about giving first, and then you think about, okay, what could be the ROI around that. um
exactly.
am I right, and how do you think about this?
No, 100%. In fact, like I do a workshop. It's a community management 101 workshop for founders. And in that,
Right.
I have like a six-step process. The first one
Hmm.
is the mindset. What you call attitude, I
Hmm.
just term it as mindset.
Yeah.
And I have a
Mindset, got it.
tweet that SHL had posted. Sahil,
Hmm.
founder of
Hmm.
Gumroad, he had
Huh.
tweeted way back in, I think, 2020 or 2021, saying that
Huh.
what is the hardest is see it. Now, today there are playbooks. Earlier, I think
Hmm.
in 2019, Nawal had
Hmm.
tweeted. Um, if you think hiring developers is hard, try hiring a
Hmm.
community manager because
Right.
development, at least there are schools that will teach you community management. There's no playbook. So what he had said, it
Correct.
is rarer to find a good community manager compared to a good developer, and we know how hard it
Correct.
is to actually
Yeah,
hire
yeah,
good
yeah,
developers.
absolutely.
And this
Absolutely,
was
yeah.
way back in 2019, so even before this hype
Hmm.
was there. So
Correct.
SHL on top of this, a couple of years later, had said that now there are playbooks, but what is harder is the mindset. What do you call it? The
Hmm.
attitude. It is about
Huh.
give, and then
Yeah.
take. Definitely
Yeah.
take back something, right? It is not
Huh. Huh.
you're not running a charity here.
For
But
sure.
give the mindset has to be before anything, without expecting anything. Just keep
Correct.
contributing. At some point, I
Yeah.
can assure you it will come back to you. And that time you
Hmm.
should be okay to ask. Right? That is also a skill
Yeah.
on how do you take back,
Absolutely.
how do you ask, right? Over time.
Yeah,
But if
yeah,
you go
true.
with that
True.
mindset of taking first, then I don't think
Hmm.
community is worker. So what you
Yeah.
mentioned is absolutely true.
Right. I think this is part of business mind in general also. Like you sort of like if you look at the core, like how our dads would have run business is there would be people around them where he's sort of helping out with each other and sort of then coming back. Can you look at this whenever the time comes in, right? I think
Correct.
that is for sure there, but then the idea is that there's a lot of giving first, if I would say 90% of giving, and then you recognize like, oh, I did help someone someday. Maybe this is the right time to actually go over there because I know that this person can actually do that. So I think that's what the
Exactly
model
right.
looks like.
Exactly right.
Good.
That's why
Yeah.
I compared this to a cooperative, right? I don't
Hmm.
think this is a easy D2C VC fueled business,
Yeah.
right? I don't think
Correct.
communities
Correct.
will ever be there. But if you're looking at this from the long term, I think you can
Hmm.
build a very, very, very strong moat here. And to be
Correct.
honest, before this entire VC driven era, all
Hmm.
businesses
Hmm.
were built for decades, right?
Were
Now
actually,
we're seeing,
yeah.
okay,
Correct.
people raising money over and over
Hmm.
again, building
Right.
unicorns in 3 years. But
Yeah.
that is a phenomenon of the last decade. It wasn't the
Hmm.
case before that. So I think these are just
Correct.
two different ways to
Hmm.
build
Hmm.
what you want to do. And honestly, I'll tell you, we didn't even think of it becoming so big, right? Idea was,
Right.
hey, we're figuring it out as we go. But
Yeah.
the good part is at least we've been able to add tremendous value. Right now it is about
Correct.
figuring out, okay, hey, how do you structure it better, how do you definitely keep adding more value. I think we've just touched the
Hmm.
surface, but at least I'm
Yeah.
happy about the fact that we've been
Hmm.
able to do as much as we've been able to do in the last 3.5 years.
Correct. 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 No, true. I think this sounds like this actually summarize how community building basically looks like, is at least for me. But yeah, another follow up question would be that as an individual, and again going back to your indie hacking journey, I think sometimes what happens is when you're working in a company, you do know like this is what my job is, and then you sort of switch between maybe here and there a little bit, but you don't cross your limits of your job, right? You still do your thing, and even if you want to like contribute, you will bring in your skill and sort of contribute with other departments, right? Now
Correct.
when you do indie hacking, it is like you are running a business. It's just small business, but you're running it. So right from development to everything that you basically need to look at. uh, which I would say, if I had to just put it around, I think this is more of a solopreneur, right? Like at the end of the day, you are sort of managing two big companies in general, right?
Yeah.
And then even in TPF, I would say there is TPH.
Yeah.
Then again, there's a founder community. You have like cohorts going on, the product folks. Again, you guys sort of stay so on top of all the new things that are happening, and as you said, like execution is like super important. What is that method of you juggling between all of this? I'm pretty much sure, and I think being a founder, it is like by default you need to be like switching between context. It's like super
Correct.
common. You need to be that superhuman sort of person that you basically move towards context. um so context is like pretty much clear, but then how do you juggle between these massive initiatives? These are not small, right? Because
Yeah.
how many people were there this time in search? I think it was 20,000 plus
Yeah,
was
the
registered or
last
something, right?
exposure we did, we got about 38,000 registrations.
30,000 registers, and out of that also I think the acquisition will be like even close to like 16 or like 19, 20,000, right?
Correct. Anywhere between
Yeah.
16 to 90.
Yeah. So, and these are like not small. And I know you have a group of these amazing people who are helping you to, build
Yes.
this out. Uh, but yeah, like on top of it, you are the ones who is, like driving this whole thing. And I know, and just to give people a little bit of context, I'm also like a very much insider of the product folks. So I know like there are 90, 100 sort of, people who sort of come and voluntarily work.
Yes.
Um, right, so how do you go about this? Like how does these pillars work? You as an individual, what is that thinking that goes behind running all of this?
So for me, I think now TPF is now responsibility in some way. I think there are tons
Right.
of people who depend
True, it's
on
just too
TPF.
big to not fail.
I hope it still has a long way to go. That is where I'd still say
True.
it's day one in that sense. But now we have a
Correct.
foundation, right? You know, in community, the hardest challenge, two of the hardest challenges. One is
Yeah.
getting started, right?
Correct.
People in
True.
the pre-COVID era, pre-digital
Yeah.
era, pre-2016 era, it
Yeah.
was very difficult to get people together because we were an
Right.
offline world, right? There wasn't so much online.
Yeah.
I'm talking from an India point of view. People outside
Hmm.
India might think maybe, before 2016 also people were largely online.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the
There
case,
was
right?
a work from home culture in general outside. Like
Yes.
they sort of had it because I think Zoom adoption and all of this adoption happened way earlier over there versus what happened here. Yeah.
Correct, correct. But largely
Hmm.
the world has shifted towards virtual, right?
Hmm.
Like the entire
Correct.
metaverse thing that came through was because people,
True.
young kids, were spending so much time in
Hmm.
front of their devices. Today, if you ask, I think Apple and Google publish how much time people are spending on devices. That has shot up,
Yeah.
right? So we are
Yeah.
living in a digital first world, right? So in the
Correct.
previous era, we were not here. So today, what has happened? The shift has come in. If you have even a small social following, and we saw this
Correct.
in 2020, 2021, so
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
them started creating communities, just like put a WhatsApp
Hmm.
group out there. So what
Yeah. Yeah.
shifted? It started becoming easier to create virtual communities,
Hmm.
digital
Hmm.
communities, right?
Hmm. True.
But the downside of
There's a
that,
new
or what the
behavior that
hardship?
came in.
Correct. The hardship
Hmm.
that comes here is now it's become easier to start communities, but it's that much easier to even just be lost in communities. At the click of a
Correct.
button, I can leave the session. Right? Imagine in the previous
Yeah.
day, yes, it was hard to get 50 people together, 30
Yeah.
people, 20 people together
True.
because you had to
True.
do that all manually. And they had to come, they
Hmm.
had to get up from their house, their workplace, and come to a certain place. That was how it was,
Correct.
right? Earlier, offline
Yeah.
events
Yeah.
and a lot of
Yeah.
things were
Absolutely.
offline only.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the harder to get people in, but once they come there, because they've
Huh.
traveled a little bit and come, they'll stay there at least for half an
Hmm.
hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour.
Yeah.
Today, in
Yeah.
online, if your session is not interesting, if you're doing a
Hmm.
boring session, people are going to drop. They're
Correct.
just going to click that cross button, or they're going to sit there
Yeah.
and they're going to be on WhatsApp, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. True.
retention has become the hardest challenge. And every single
Hmm.
community manager you talk to, first question is, okay,
Hmm.
how do you keep TPS so engaged? How do you even like
Yeah.
drive engagement beyond the point? So I think
Correct.
these are two
Correct.
buckets in communities that I see today.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
touchwood, I think this has been the focus for us also. Today, yes, we are
Hmm.
expanding as communities. We are thinking of different ways.
Hmm.
But why has the women in product community come together? We have the larger TPF.
Correct.
Why has WIP come?
Yes.
Why are you and me now focusing on the founder, the founder folks
Correct.
that we started, right?
Hmm.
Because we
Hmm.
realized, okay, as the community grew within this entire
Yeah.
large community, now there are cohorts that have come in. There were product managers
Right.
earlier who now transitioned and become founders. So they need
Correct.
specific help. Women
Yeah.
who are product managers, they need specific help, which is not getting covered in the larger area, right?
True.
So that is
True.
where I think we started going behind these vertical communities, identifying our own community, where do they need help,
Hmm.
and this is
Hmm.
also adding tons of value, right? Whatever we've planned for, the founder folks, for example, we
Yep.
know you and I as founders, this is the kind of
Hmm.
help we would have also wanted, right? When we were
Agreed.
getting started, and we are
Agreed.
also kind of there at that stage, right? Imagine if we can
Right.
get 60 people who are also in similar stages between
Right.
pre-seed to series A in that bucket.
Correct. Correct.
If
Correct.
we can really
Yeah.
help them as a tribe, right? Tomorrow,
Hmm.
if there are 100 founders there, you launch on Product Hunt. Imagine if you can
Yeah.
get your first 99 upvotes from here. Isn't that valuable?
Correct. True.
Tomorrow, if
True.
you're
True. No,
hiring,
absolutely.
right? Isn't
Yeah.
it valuable if someone's letting go? So that
Hmm.
entire community is also something that we're looking at, and that's why I think we started going behind
Yeah.
vertical communities. And
Yeah.
like you mentioned about time management, or you mentioned, okay, hey, how
Hmm.
does context switching work? I think
Hmm.
regardless of what you're doing, if you are a founder,
Hmm.
you cannot
Yeah.
get away from, right? You are in a position
Correct.
where
True.
you need to unblock. You are in a position
Yeah.
you need to think about, hey, what's next? And this is, I'm
Next.
talking about
Correct.
our stage, right? Tomorrow,
Yeah.
if you are a founder at a series B, series C,
Hmm.
yes, you will have that
Correct.
CXO team to take care. So I think that
Hmm.
comes with time. I think even
Correct.
in TPF, for example, I would have
Hmm.
been stuck doing only three initiatives had it not been for, like you said,
Hmm.
that entire
Yeah.
core team coming together, or the
Correct. Correct.
set
Correct.
of volunteers coming together. And the best part is somehow we've been able to organize ourselves in different pods such that everyone's
Hmm.
focusing on their small initiative, which then rolls up to
Right.
the big initiative. So to
Right.
anyone who's building communities here and is
Yeah.
scaling, I think please
Yeah.
do look at the pod structure. I think that's been very
For
useful
sure.
for us. There are downsides to
For
that,
sure.
but I think it's worked
Hmm.
out decently well for us. So I think
True.
between
True.
TPF and TPH, it's on the community side, and between
Correct.
I think I've been spending a lot
Yeah.
of time on new initiatives in general, like
Yeah.
even within Indistractable need to scale that with Adi
Correct.
trying to brainstorm something now. So
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
I don't think I have like a formula to this. Like you said, it's not like I divide
Yeah.
25% of my day to this, 25% there. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But
Huh.
I try to keep
It's
everything on
it's more
calendar.
of ask of the hour. Like if I
Ask of
could
the hour.
just say that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and also
Okay.
just trying to keep everything on calendar. Like if you try to like
Hmm.
that is the only very simple thing that has worked for me. Any meeting, any if it's an
True.
internal meeting also, right? It could be on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Just try pushing it to your calendar, and there will
Yeah.
be times where there'll be three things on a calendar. At that point, you need to choose. Okay, hey, I'm
Correct.
so sorry,
Correct.
missed this because I was stuck with something. It
Yeah.
happens. It happens
Sure.
all the time.
Sure.
But I think that is just a very simple way. If you haven't started anywhere, the easiest
Hmm.
way for you to do it is just keep things on your calendar. Even if you're
Yeah.
blocking out 3 hours of your day, just keep it on
Correct.
on calendar.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
I think non-transactionary, right? I think lots of
Hmm.
things that will come in place in the retro. um, just think a little bit more medium term. Every founder out there,
Hmm.
at least in the next
Yeah.
6-12 months, I think
Huh.
partnerships is your key way to go forward. All those
Yeah.
relationships that you had built over the years, now is probably the
Yeah.
time to reach out to them,
Time to.
and they'll be more than
Hmm.
willing to help you, right?
Correct.
So
Correct. Correct. No.
build
True.
your own tribe.
I think. Yeah, no, no, absolutely. I think this sounds like super relatable, and I think we constantly talk about this as well. But then, yeah, I was just going to come to this point, right? Like, let's say the product folks obviously, sort of work with a lot of sponsors and things like that as well. How do you look at it? Like, what is that? What kind of partnerships are these? And like, if
Yeah,
companies out there who are listening to this podcast as well, like, how do you think you can sort of, I know like there's a lot of things that you can get in terms of doing the partnerships and stuff. Like in terms of companies, like how should they look at the community? Let's say just partnering with the product folks. Like, what are some of the things
yeah,
that you do with working with these companies and stuff? I think it also gives a behind the scene for our listeners that what does the community actually also built on top of, because even these things are like super important to have inside the community, because when brands come in, you are like, okay, now you have so much also, I think you also add a lot of credibility. Like for example, I know you guys work with Amplitude.
true,
There are like so many Web Engage. I think there are even like the small, I know like some small meetups also that happens around the Bangalore by the product folks. Even those are like sort of sponsored by, let's say, Mixpanel. Like recent one was
correct,
sponsored by Mixpanel, the Grab Chai event, right?
correct,
So
correct.
just would love to understand like how does that work, and what is the behind the scene, like
Sure. I'll tell you
working with
the
the
history to
brands.
this. So, yeah,
Yeah.
history to this, and then what it is today. I think it's always
Perfect.
harder when you're smaller. It's a chicken and egg problem, right?
Which
We
comes
knew
first?
where what we wanted. Yeah, exactly. The first one's all the hardest. So I think when we started, we knew what we wanted to do. We wanted to
Yeah.
uh, democratize access to education back in the day,
Right.
and how we started also was there were a couple of product cohorts that had come up, and all these were between 1 to 2 lakhs. Right? It was very early.
Right.
Today, everyone has a
Yeah. Yeah.
product management course out there, but back
Correct.
then they were
Correct.
very limited, and all these were expensive. So we were like, dude,
Yeah.
this education is available on the internet. Like people like
Yeah.
Andrew Chen and back in the day,
Yeah. Yeah. True.
All these people were
Their
putting
SS
out great
itself
stuff.
is like so much over there, right? Like the SS that
Exactly,
they used to write.
exactly,
But now,
exactly.
like people have shifted to Twitter. But essentially, these were the people who were writing it since such a long time. Paul
Years,
Graham is writing
exactly,
already, like from
exactly.
ages, right? Yeah.
Exactly, right. That is where we realized two main things. One was on the education
Hmm.
side, okay, and this is where we realized one thing we want to do is we will always keep in Sojo, product analytics, product like all these which are coming in today.
Hmm.
These will always be free for the community, right? No one should
True.
have to say that, okay, dude, I don't want to spend $5,000 to learn this, $3,000 to learn this. That should not be the blocker. All right. Now,
Yeah.
how do we work around this? That was one side.
Yeah.
Second, in the
Yeah.
valley, we always saw lots of product events, right? And one of the
Hmm.
two inspirations we had was one was this community called Mind the Product. They've been around for
Mind
a
the
decade
product.
and a
Correct.
half.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're doing good stuff, right? And back in the day, also,
Yeah.
I had attended one of their Bangalore events. Fantastic event.
Hmm.
I was like, dude, why
Hmm.
can't? And they used to do it sparsely, right? I was like, why
Hmm.
can't this happen more often? And I used to see the valley. There's so many events happening there. Here also, they used to have startup events, but no one was doing
Yeah.
product
Yeah.
related events. Like
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
early in my product career. I was like, if there was something like
Hmm.
this, I would love to, attend. So
Hmm.
because I didn't find something like that, I was like, okay, let's get more people together.
Yeah.
My selfish motive was I was catching up with senior directors, reaching out to them on LinkedIn for a coffee. So I was like, okay, maybe
Hmm.
other people will also be interested. And I also wanted
Hmm.
a peer network. I was like, okay, what are other product
Hmm.
managers doing in other companies, right? Where
Hmm.
does the product career path lie? What are other people actually doing? So that was my
Correct.
selfish motive to actually start doing the offline events. And from there,
Right.
we went into on the education side. Even before courses, we had launched
Yeah.
something called Learn PM with .me. Learn PM with me,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Learn PM with me. Correct.
right?
I've seen that.
Saying
Yeah.
that first you come, go through this material. Like people across valley
Huh.
for they put out such good content. Before spending
Huh.
2,000, 3,000, $5,000, just go through this, right? Understand what
Yeah.
product management is about. Then if you want to
Correct.
spend on courses, please do. Even today, that's the thing. Start with
Yeah.
Inside Joke, but tomorrow you want to go spend on a $5,000 course, please go do. No one's stopping you. Even theirs
Hmm.
is good,
Hmm.
right? But at
Yeah.
least for and India, right? 99% will think
Hmm.
twice before. There's only that 1%,
Yeah. Yeah.
even
True.
lesser than 1% of India who will say, okay,
Yeah.
it's $1,000, let me pay for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
True.
these are the two main reasons where we started. And now
Hmm.
is okay, hey, how did the brand scene enter? Now we wanted to keep
Yeah.
this completely free. Slowly these
Correct. Correct.
started growing. All even our meetups
Yeah.
were completely free. Till date, none of our meetups we've charged, not even one meetup
Yeah.
we've charged. We've done
Correct.
350,
Correct.
400 events, everything
Huh.
completely free. So
Yeah.
then okay, now if we have to sustain this, if we have to continue doing this, how do we ensure we are able to run ops? Initially it's okay,
Yeah.
you can put out of your pocket, but do 400 events and running a cohort that is 40,000 strong is beyond our pockets, right? Let's just say it's
Correct.
beyond our
Correct. Correct.
pockets.
For sure.
And
For
that
sure.
is where I think
And then you
started
need
figuring out.
like you also need those infra things, right? Even in offline, I would say like obviously you need like the Zoom account and things like that to run this show.
Not
It
only
cannot be
Zoom,
free
not
for
only
sure.
Zoom.
Hmm.
Arnav, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
our
Huh.
newsletter goes out to 150,000 folks today. It's a
Correct.
weekly
Correct. Correct.
newsletter. So 150 into
Yeah.
4 is 600,000 emails just on
Huh.
a monthly basis. Added to that, for
Correct.
example, if PLG comes through, Insurjo
Hmm.
comes through, we have
Hmm.
daily or every third day some email are
Yeah.
going through. So if you're
Right.
sending a million emails a month,
Hmm.
any provider is
Hmm.
going to charge you a bomb, right? It still
Yeah.
costs.
Yeah.
You can both
Absolutely.
get
It is.
calculators
It is
online.
like an enterprise deal for enterprise deal
Exactly,
for
right?
them
You
for.
know the costs. You know the costs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. For
So
sure.
stuff like that all adds up, bro. All adds up, right? From
Yeah.
hosting the event, now we use it on.
Hmm.
Luckily, Airmeet. Now, how did partnership start, right? So Airmeet
Hmm.
was early in there. Today, if we were to host so many people on Airmeet, again, it charges
Hmm.
a bomb. But luckily,
Yeah.
we started using Airmeet when it was very, very early in its
Yeah.
days, in its beta days,
Correct.
and they've also been super kind to say, okay, y'all are running a product community. We'd love to support this way. At the
Yeah.
same time, we
Yeah.
would probably be one of their top five communities. Like we would have
Right.
taken, I know the number. It is
Yeah.
almost a lakh users have come from our side who've used Airmeet, right? So
Correct.
imagine on a
Airmate.
platform
Right.
like Olvy, over three
Yeah.
years, if a
Hmm.
community is willing to bring a lakh users to just try out your product, forget use it
Yeah.
day in
Yeah.
day out,
Yeah,
won't you be
yeah, more
willing
than
to
enough.
partner
More
with
than
that?
enough. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly, right?
absolutely. Like imagine my cost of acquisition itself will be like so less considering in B2B businesses it becomes so much hard because it works over email and things like this, right?
Exactly.
And emails are like so expensive. Yeah,
Exactly.
go ahead.
And more than email, setting up that time, right? Email first is
Mm-hmm.
nurturing. First is, try
Correct.
capturing the lead, then nurturing that
Absolutely.
lead, getting them to a stage where they will book a time with you. This entire thing,
Correct.
a larger B2B SaaS company, costs them in,
Yeah.
hundreds of dollars, right? To
Yeah,
just
yeah,
set up a meeting,
absolutely.
forget conversion. So I think
Absolutely.
that is the
Absolutely.
play. I think that is where communities, newsletters,
Hmm.
content plays, podcast. I think that is the unique
Yeah.
advantage they have. I think it's a different distribution channel, right? Today,
Mm-hmm.
people are
Mm-hmm.
spending time in newsletters, people are spending time in podcasts, people are
Yeah.
spending a lot of time in community events, right? The recent event
Hmm.
that you mentioned, Mixed Panel was a part of it. We had one and two new partners that who had come to,
Hmm. Correct.
and who had experienced it for the first time. We had
Yeah.
more than 5,000 registrations for that event, curated down to
Correct.
120 invites, 80
Yeah.
people turning up for that, right? We were
Yeah.
hosting the CPO of
Even.
Misho and the
Huh.
SVP of Swiggy, right? So it was a very
Correct.
neat event. Luckily, found a good
Right.
venue. You couldn't make
Hmm.
it, I think, to that event, but you
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
loved it. Trust
Yeah.
me, right?
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah. No, I,
Just trying
I
to
I've
level up
heard
from being
everything
good
about
in
it.
product.
Correct. Correct.
Okay,
Correct. No,
nice.
makes sense. Makes sense. But then, yeah, I think that's the whole idea is that for companies also, this becomes like, it's not just about so why I wanted to put out this whole thing out there is that it's not about just individuals getting out of it. There's like so many companies also sort of partnering with you folks, and figuring out like, okay, I can actually get some people out of this, because acquisition is the biggest problem in any startup or business that is going on, right? Like in India, I think there's a saying, right? If you have a lot of reach, in general, like for example, if you have a lot of reach in general, you can do the business like so much better, rather than you trying to figure out like, okay, shall I build this or that, or maybe just lower out down the cost and things like that. So yeah, I think there's a great
Exactly.
advantage to even work with communities in general. And like I would highly recommend as a founder to the product folks for sure. Like that's what
Thanks
that
so
would be
much.
thing. Like it has been like super helpful for us at Olvy for sure. So yeah,
Thanks so
cool.
much.
uh
That way we should
One
talk
thing,
about
like,
the
because
product
this
that
is
we
again,
built
you have
together, right?
been,
I think
you
Write
are
My
primarily
PRD
a product
was a
manager, like
product
what do you
that
have seen?
Olvy and
Yeah, good,
product folks.
good.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
they're good. I was telling about the product that we built
Yeah,
together. I think Write My PRD.
yeah,
It was a side
correct.
project, right? It wasn't something that we
Yeah,
had planned from the beginning, but just Arnab and me
true.
jamming backstage. We're like, okay, with AI coming in, what do
Yeah,
you think will be the first few things that will start getting automated, or will start
yeah,
getting eliminated? Eventually, we were
yeah,
thinking, okay, 5 years from now, if AI were to replace an APM, right? And that is the broader
right.
question that we started with.
Yeah,
Then we realized, okay, a lot of
true.
product managers spend time writing PRDs, right? And this we could
PRDs,
build
correct.
something with GPT. So that is one of the ideas we built, and we have almost
Yeah,
32,000 sessions today, right? I think in less than 2 months,
yes,
that
yes,
product has been growing very, very well. So stuff like that, right?
correct,
It's not
correct.
just monetary; it's like a company and a community
Exactly.
coming together, adding value together.
Jamming. Yeah, see, even fundamentally, the way we thought about this was giving, right? Going
Correct.
back to the community, fundamental is that even you as a company, you need to make sure that you bring a lot rather than taking.
Correct.
That would be my
Correct. Exactly
recommendation
right.
over there. But then, yeah, true. I think this also comes from the passion of just helping out your community as well. So I was like, if I have the resource, how do I build about it, right? And then I was like, we have been jamming about, if we can, like as you said, right, if we can remove this whole APM thing, like where you do a lot of research and things like that, you just give it to AI altogether. I think that would be like amazing in that sense. That is like pretty good. But then I was just coming to the point where, I was just going to ask you, like, because you have this product background and you have been building products from a long time now,
Uh-huh.
what do you see is um, sort of the, I would say, the similarity between running a community and being a product manager. I think if I have to just put it around like product manager versus community manager, what is the similarity over there? And the second part could be, what is the difference? Like you see, like, okay, community managers have to be good at this, and the PMs have to be good at this. So yeah, if I have to just put it like, what is nice to have, good to have, and must have for
To
the
be honest,
differences
I
in that
think
sense.
to be honest, I think product managers will be great community managers because
Right.
90% of the principles are the same, right? If you're early in that
Hmm.
in that product career, you will have to talk to
Correct.
users, there you'll have to talk to members, there you will have
Yeah.
to do things that don't scale, here you will have to do things that
Correct.
don't scale. I think 90% principles remain similar. It's just one thing that I feel in community management, it's the three P principles that I say. Like one is patience and patience,
Yeah.
all three are patience, but one is patience
Yeah.
in terms of time, right? Like what we say,
Correct.
a lot of times when you build a product you can get tremendous growth. There will be
Yeah.
iterations and
Yeah.
everything will be there, but there is that possibility that you will get, like, the
to
minute
to
you go to
see
market.
like what you just did, like it's very kicking, right, in general when you're working in product, because product works in cycle.
Correct.
And you can, like, if you have done this, you would see some results coming tomorrow, because you have this analytics and everything just put in around with the tracking plan and stuff. But yeah, I don't think that would be the case in,
Yeah,
in the
in
community
community.
management for sure. Yeah.
Correct. In communities, it takes a little longer. So stick around for the first 8, 12 months, I'd say. Not 8, 12 weeks, I'd say 8, 12 months. Second is patience in terms of it's a people's game here, right? If you're a product
Yeah.
manager, you can still get away. It's not easy there. Also, it's a people game. You need to do a lot of stakeholder management.
Correct, correct,
As a product manager,
correct.
you will be definitely managing up, managing down, talking to your design team, your engineering counterparts, your marketing. So it is not a single player
Hmm.
game there also, but somewhere
Correct.
here it's a lot more, right? Here it is day
Yeah.
in day out. If you aren't comfortable talking to people, so this is why I'm trying to tell. It
True.
is slightly similar, but at the same time in community management, this gets enhanced, right? It is a people's
Huh.
game day in day out. In product management also it is. You can somewhere get away, even if you aren't so much. Last one
Right.
is patience in terms of monetarily. Like if you're a product manager,
Hmm.
the salary will pay you out. Community management is
Yeah.
not there yet. If you're building your own
Correct.
community or you're a community manager,
Yeah.
I think this is the easiest way for me to explain it. I call it the three
Hmm.
P framework, where
Yeah.
patience,
True.
patience, patience in terms of time, effort,
Yeah.
money, right? All three.
Correct. Correct.
You need to
Correct.
be a little more. If you want to be a good community manager, it takes a little longer. But
Yeah.
then that moat is there because there aren't too many people
Hmm.
who are willing to go through this effort. Then you stand out,
Correct.
right? So if you can
Yeah.
give it 3 good years, and opportunity is
Hmm.
also coming, right? Community
Yeah.
management
Yeah.
is a field
For
which
sure.
is not in for the longest
Hmm.
time. It will
Hmm. Hmm.
because
Hmm.
of different factors today, because we're digital first
Yeah.
today, because community led growth is a thing today,
Hmm.
because Web3 had come, gone, will come back again.
Yeah.
I think community
Yeah.
management is definitely at the center of a lot of things and is valued.
Hmm.
So I think from
Yeah.
that point of view, great time to be a
Correct.
community manager, but you need to be a lot more patient in this space.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think this is like super relatable with things that you just said because yeah, I think PMs obviously have to have like multiple hats, but then we can also have that cycle of looking at the product and see something. But then again, in community, it is all about people, and then you're cracking that thing, and then it will take time for sure.
True.
But yeah, like I just wanted to come on to this two things, but you have already mentioned it over there, and then maybe we can talk about it. One is the first question would be, what are some of the emerging trends in the industry that excites you right now? I was expecting you will start with AI, but then you have
Okay.
already talked about it. But so maybe
Yeah.
we can talk about it in now in brief.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think everyone's talking about it, right? I think um, whichever conversation I go to, people ask about, hey,
Correct.
what is the
Where is
impact of
generative
AI?
AI in this?
It is true. It is true. It is true.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and it is disruptive. Whatever said and done,
yeah,
there is
yeah.
small changes that we're seeing if product managers aren't using it today, 3 6 months from now, everyone will be having, every
Hmm.
company will offer a $20 subscription to the plus, or will have their own
Correct.
version of it being, probably there will be some version of it that you will be interfacing with for sure, right? Within this
Hmm.
year, within the end of this year.
Yeah, correct.
Maybe you will not be working on full blown AI products, but if
Hmm.
you aren't already, please spend half an hour a day just exploring, right? You could
Correct.
master, prompting on GPT, you could play around in Midjourney, very simple stuff, right? But play around with that
Hmm.
so that tomorrow, if your manager is asking you, okay, hey, do you think this is applicable in our roadmap? You don't have a blank face, right? And as product manager, I
Yeah.
think it is super important for you to be early. If you aren't curious about technology, if you aren't curious
Yeah.
about problem solving, why are you a
True.
product manager, right? So I think that is
Correct. Correct.
uh, we are I think a different species who's probably
Hmm.
always an early adopter. So I don't know whether
Yeah.
or when this will become the thing for us,
Uh,
but I think a lot
yeah.
of them are already experimenting, right? I've had
For sure.
conversations,
For
everyone's
sure.
excited about it.
Hmm.
And I think AI is here to stay. I think a lot of people who've
Hmm.
been overlooking it, I think AI is here to
Yeah.
stay. Some form of
People are
action
still
you will be
thinking it
working on.
as like just one thing I wanted to add is like people are thinking it as another trend. I don't think it is another trend at all. This has
Correct.
legit seen a use case, like you have businesses who are adopting it and actually solving a problem, right?
Correct.
So it's
Exactly.
not a trend, like people have to jump on it now, like if they're not,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. And we saw that happen. No, now the industry is
Yeah.
getting disrupted.
Hmm.
Chegg, for example, just announced two
Yeah,
days ago.
you put
Uh,
something on LinkedIn, right? On the other
LinkedIn as
day.
well, right? Their stock price
Yeah.
fell down 45-50%, right? Just because of an
Hmm.
announcement from the CEO that next quarter our revenues will be
Hmm.
affected because of the impact of
Hmm.
GPT. It's not even affected now.
Hmm.
And tomorrow they will also build out a layer of it. They cannot say, okay, hey,
Yeah.
we don't care about GPT, we don't care about AI,
Correct.
we are good as
Correct.
it is. No, right? You're
Yeah.
seeing the first level of disruption, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, the applications are here. What was probably missing
Hmm.
over the last
Hmm.
6, 8, 10, 12 years, there's lots of
Yeah.
research that's been going on. but you never
Hmm.
directly interfaced with it, right? The API
Right.
was
True.
available, but how many of us would say that we'll go to playground like GPT, chat GPT,
Correct.
playground and play with
Correct.
it? When they made the
Correct.
interface, they're the fastest growing
Hmm.
product today, right?
Yes.
They've got
Yes. Yes.
the first
Absolutely.
1 million users. They're the fastest product to get to a million
Correct.
users,
Correct.
and
Correct.
they will be
Correct.
the
No.
fastest to
True.
get to 10 million users.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, see the way, so there's always a commercial side of the thing, and then there's a business side of the thing.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the company that is getting structured around OpenAI is basically, the business side of the things. I think
yeah,
ChatGPT was basically sort of a reminder to everyone that this is actually coming. So basically, get
yeah,
ready. This is how I'm looking at the ChatGPT sort of interface right now. Like normal, like people who are not into the industry and they are sort of adopting it. It's like, like in India there are these news who are talking about chat gpt writing chat over there and then
yeah,
making a news out of it. Like that was like the most funniest thing I've seen.
yeah,
but
yeah.
then but then that's the kind of adoption that has happened. Like this is what we are trying to speak here. But then obviously there is the other side, because there's one thing, bro. Like I would just love to understand from you, right? This is how I've been thinking. Like people, when there was no AI, people were saying that, what can AI come up with, creative stuff? Can AI actually can do like artistic things and shit like that, right?
Exactly.
And the first thing AI came and sort of took like the disruption was into,
The
like
creative
for
side.
example, Mid-Journey, right? it
Exactly.
it took like the creative side of the things,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And it
I
was
was
like I felt like, go ahead.
I was just saying Midjourney is such a fantastic tool. It was just a
Yeah,
5.1 I was playing with yesterday. Last night I got
yeah,
access from a friend. It's $8 a
correct.
month. I just wanted
Yeah,
to play around to see. The simple prompt gives you such high quality, and for someone who's
yeah,
not a designer, for someone who's not an
yeah,
artistic person, just
correct.
imagine if in my head that's all I'm thinking of the simplest use case. I'm not thinking of anything complex. I'm not thinking of anything
Yes,
10 years from now. I'm like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
am not great at this, but if I can just generate this one image, take it
yeah,
to Canva, put some caption on top, it looks so beautiful. This is not something I would have been
true.
able to do. I'm not
Yeah.
that great at it. I've not picked up Photoshop in years. I'm not going to go pick it up today. But
Hmm.
I know I can
Hmm.
write simple, plain, good prompts. That much I know I
Huh.
can do. I was going through, on Google, you can get these great guides today, right? There are a lot
Yeah.
of nuances. By the way, it is not just, and I'll give you one of the, in fact. If I can share screen with you, and on this
Yeah,
topic,
yeah,
you can
for
crop
sure.
this out if you want. But it's a very
Yeah, yeah, sure.
interesting thing.
Yeah,
Just give me a
yeah.
second.
By the
You
time
can
like
probably
yeah, yeah, you can share the screen right in over here. Yeah, but then I think you're so right. Like because now this is more about thinking, bro. Like that's it, right? Is there, if you know what kind of output that you're looking for, um,
yeah.
get the execution to AI to do it.
Exactly right. And I'm telling for people like me who aren't great at that kind of a skill set, now at least you don't
Hmm.
feel like, honestly, maybe Photoshop is not as hard, right? But I just never sat down to
Yeah,
do it, right? Now think of it as a
correct.
prompt. I'll tell you the prompt that I was putting
Yeah,
in last night, and I'll show you the image
hmm.
also, just to.
Yeah,
And this was one of the links that I'll just put this down here if you want to share it with your
hmm.
listeners later. Right?
Sure,
This was one of the articles that
sure,
I was
sure.
going through, and
Yeah,
simple
yeah.
prompt that I put was
Hmm.
Paris night in
Hmm.
1990, raining
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
soft rain with
Hmm.
Eiffel Tower in the background. That was the first prompt I got, because
Okay.
this is generally how you think, right? That is the only thing.
Okay.
Then when I
We
started
can
going
only
through
see your this thing, like the word. Are you showing something else
Word.
also?
Okay,
It's
it's on a
just the
different
word.
screen. I realize I'm sharing only one screen, but I'll tell you what I
No
mean. Right, this
worries.
was
Yeah.
the first
Huh.
line that I gave. The first line
Yeah.
that I gave.
Yeah.
Then, because of
True.
going through the guides, I realized okay, there's lots more you can do, like small prompts.
Hmm.
So now, if you can
Correct.
learn what each of these mean, and you can
Yeah.
go through prompt engineering, right? Tomorrow, if you aren't
Correct.
skilled at something, one thing that
Yeah.
earlier we used to say, learn how to Google, right? Today it is learn how to
Hmm.
prompt engineer, right? Whether it is GPT.
Yeah.
So it is basically you
Yeah.
learning how to interface with AI, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Each of
think
these
this is
means
the skill
something.
is basically, yeah, I think the skill is basically nothing but how to talk to AI. Simple as that. Like how you sort of, evolved yourself to talk to humans on a daily basis. You now need to know how to talk to AI essentially.
exactly. And now I'll just show you the output that I got with
Yeah.
this. You'll be
Yeah.
mind blown. Let me just copy that image and put it here.
Sure. Sure. No, sounds good.
I mean, you should probably do a separate live demo of Midjourney if you have
Yeah.
time. You are a designer yourself. You've been in this space, so
Absolutely.
I'd love to hear
Yeah.
your thought. This is
No,
someone
no,
who isn't
absolutely.
great at it, just fascinated
Yeah.
by. You can put in a line
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get
True.
this kind of an image.
Cool.
Let me know if you can see it. Has it come up? I hope it
Um,
comes up.
yeah,
Just
it's
a moment.
loading. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Imagine something
Yeah.
like this. And this came after two,
Yeah.
three versions, right? Initial one that I got, I
Mm-hmm.
had a car here, and Midjourney gives
Yeah.
you a grid, right? It'll give you four different options.
Correct.
So
Right.
based on my first thing, it was like Paris
Hmm.
night, Eiffel Tower in the background. I had a nice little
Hmm.
building here on the left, the road
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
car going. And one of the options
Correct.
was this. Then I liked it. Then I clicked
Hmm.
another version of it, put some more prompts here.
Yeah.
Then the clouds came
Yeah.
in the background. So just imagine, I would
Correct.
have never been
Correct.
able to even draw or come together with something like this. Now I'll give
Yeah.
you where my use case here comes. Now this is fun,
Yeah.
right? Tomorrow,
Yeah.
Arnab, I know I want to start
Hmm.
hosting curated dinners, right? That is something I've been
Yeah.
talking to you about,
Yes.
and that is
Yes.
one of my
Yes.
side projects I will start, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if I could do this for a Bangalore instead of Paris night, I'll do it Bangalore. I'll take
Correct.
this,
And
I'll
then.
put it in
Hmm.
Canva on the background image,
Yeah.
and I'll just put a text. Hey,
Yeah.
this is what I want.
Correct.
Would I have been able
Correct.
to think or do something like this before? And how much time does it? It takes you
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yes.
Do I
Yes.
have to depend
Yeah.
on a
No,
graphic
absolutely.
designer? No.
No,
And
not at
this looks
all.
so much
Not at all.
classy.
Absolutely. Like imagine you're doing, yeah, it feels like someone has clicked this picture, but it is actually auto, like every pixel has been auto generated
Exactly.
by
Exactly, right?
AI, right?
Like no one
Yeah.
coming behind you for a copyright violation of anything. Hey, why did you use my image?
Exactly.
Every blog you do,
Exactly.
every podcast you do, every creative that you put out on social, 5 minutes of
Yeah.
effort. Yes, it takes some time to think of
Yes.
this prompt, but
Yeah.
simple word use. And today, I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll find a mid-journey prompt generator. Somewhere you
Yeah.
put in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
small line, it will give you
Absolutely,
everything.
man. Yeah, yeah, there's a whole e-commerce on prompt engineering, so we don't really need to worry about it. Yeah, I
And
think I
Arnav,
think also,
how does
yeah.
this affect
Good.
industry?
Hmm.
Fiverr built out an entire business out of this, right? 80% of the
Correct.
revenue used to come from $5 to $10 activities. And even we like, so for
Yeah.
example, if I'm not great at design, what would I have done
Hmm.
earlier? Maybe I'd have, hired someone for graphic design, or I would have gone to Fiverr,
Correct.
paid
Correct.
them,
True.
$5
Yeah.
for a bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
and used to get it.
Yeah.
Same thing this one is
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
So these small
No,
disruptions. I'm not saying
absolutely.
it's large disruption, but this
Yeah.
is how the journey will chart out.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not like it's not happening. It is part of people's work, right? Like so I was just recording this thing around, how you can basically use Zapier and Zapier and the OpenAI access that they have. You can
Uh huh.
actually like automate, like what you can do is like as soon as you publish a blog, right,
Yeah.
it will have the context of what is the blog over there. So you can just, let's say you are hosting that blog on Ghost, right?
Yeah.
Now what you can do is you can read that blog via, let's say, some sort of scraping or something like that inside Zapier. Now once you have the text, you can just pass on to this, like come up with a blog image, as simple as
Oh,
that. Like every
very
time
nice.
you are like, you can create these automations. Like every time you're publishing a blog, automatically Zapier and OpenAI will mix, like it will come as a thing, right?
Nice.
It will sit in between. As soon as you publish, a image will be generated,
Nice.
right? So these kind of stuff is something that is actually possible. It's just that people are not adopting it
Yeah.
on a larger scale. Like people, I think, still need, because we are in the industry, so we know about it, but
Yeah.
people are not realizing that actually this is happening. This is not a thing that we're talking like future will come. Future is here. Like this
Is
is
here
the
already.
future.
Exactly. 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 This is so
True,
true.
true, true. Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. So let's just jump into like some of these like fun questions. What is like the absolutely, like this what do you absolutely love about your job right now? Like what is that sparksly, like tomorrow I'll wake up and like disrupt
I'm
these things. Yeah.
technically not employed right now. So I think the most
Yeah,
exciting
yeah.
thing right now is the freedom, to be honest. I think
Hmm,
um, doing all this on the side with a full time um,
hmm.
is not easy, especially when you're not
Yeah,
in India. I was 3 years outside India where you
yeah,
had to do everything on your own.
yeah.
And I think
Correct,
now, I
correct.
think definitely giving myself some time to figure out what's next. What I'm excited about, I think there's tons to do anyway, right? I'm technically on a break, but at the same time, I
Yeah.
know I'm excited about a bunch of things. So I think that freedom is allowing me
Yeah.
to do things that otherwise I might not have either got the time to do, or
True.
maybe there were some restrictions due to which I couldn't do it, right? So I think that is how I'm
Correct.
looking, at least at the next 2 quarters.
Yeah, yeah. No, sounds good. And like, what are some of the cool things that you're working on right now? Like, actively, we know that. And this could be like the first podcast where you're saying, like, these are the things that are coming in. Like, give me spice, is what I'm asking.
Two, three. I'll give you one exclusive. One exclusive for the pod
Yeah,
is I'm working on. It's a fun project, right? It's nothing serious, but
yeah,
it's a fun project.
yeah.
It's something called the Super Connector project. You will see it come out next week.
Nice.
I think
Uh huh.
in our ecosystem there are these silent Batman kind of people behind the scene who don't get recognized. Like one of the people that I'd love to give a shout out to, Avinash Raghava. Right, he's been here for two
Right.
decades.
Correct.
Countless people he's helped. Right, he just like you go to him
Yeah,
with a problem, he'll tell, okay, Suhas, let me help you. And like this, I know a
yeah.
couple of more people. So to those
Right.
people, I want to send out something. I want to create a small community for them.
Yeah.
Started a community called District 52, which was essentially only of 52 members, and that
Yeah.
community didn't go anywhere. So I'm going to probably
Yeah.
rebrand and club these
Huh.
two into something called the Super Connector
Correct.
project. So that's
Correct.
something I'm excited about.
Amazing.
On the product side,
Perfect.
been jamming with Adi on building a B2B SaaS thing. So hopefully something pans out there. The 10K MRR
Cool.
goal, like all of us have. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the goal for
It's,
2023.
yeah. That's like the biggest milestone that you feel like, you're going somewhere for sure.
True, true,
Cool.
true.
And like, what does, this is an interesting question that I usually ask is, you know, what is the recent realization that you had, like, like, which sort of is a epiphany, and like, what is the recent one? Like, I mean, there would have been from ages that you have been working and stuff, but what is like that recent realization as a learning that you feel like you just recently learn and you really want to, like, sort of articulate it a little bit, maybe for yourself, and this podcast could be that medium.
Very nice question. I think for the longest time it was always this what I told you earlier, right? Give, and it'll come back to you. I think I truly believe in that, and I wish more people do, because then the world is a very, very nice place to live in.
Yeah.
Less
Yeah.
transactional, more friendship. I think that is the mantra I live
True.
in. In the recent time, one thing I've realized is time is finite, right? I think for the longest
Yeah.
time, um, we're all hustling, right? And I don't
Yeah.
think anything wrong with that. We will continue to do that. But at the same
Yeah.
time, like now I've been spending a lot now I've moved back from Europe, spending a lot of time with parents. Um, taking out time to do the smaller things, which earlier I would say that, okay, hey, I'm too busy for this. So I think
Correct.
where you start realizing that you have only X number of weeks left. I think um, Tim puts it out on his blog. I think I'll share that with you, where he
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
this nice little calendar where you scratch off every week, and you realize, it is you're here for a limited period of time. Can you make the best use of it?
True.
And the North Star
True.
there that I want to go with is, does this thing, I don't care if it like scales to a million people, thousands of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah. Yeah.
billion people, but does it make me
Correct.
happy, right? If it makes me happy, I'll go ahead and do it regardless of what the
Yeah.
world says. And
Yeah.
like I think I want to live by that, right? I think definitely want to
Yeah.
continue doing the stuff that I'm doing and
Yeah.
impact millions of people. I think that doesn't change. But if that doesn't make me happy, I think at some point I'll move on from there.
Got it. Got it. No, I think this is a great one, and just going back to what you just said is like helping out. I think I'm also like one of those person who will just help out like any random person out there, right? I
You
don't
have
even know,
me
but then
sometimes where I get stuck. I know I reach out to you for the randomest of things, right? Without thinking twice.
yeah,
And I want to be
yeah,
that
yeah,
person for a lot
absolutely.
of people, right?
Exactly. And like, and the thing is that I know now I can go back to them when I have started running a business, right?
Exactly.
Because I might not know everything, but they do come to me for like things. And I've been doing this like from last 3 4 years, and I've been talking to my even co-founders that, I feel like why a lot of things are getting figured out, because maybe because a lot of these things I just randomly did it, and now they're coming as friends. They're not
Yeah,
coming as like another colleague of mine or anything
exactly
like.
that.
They're like, yeah, I'll do it because I know you are a good person in that sense. But yeah, I think this is like super important, and I feel this is what karma actually is. Like if I
Correct.
have to just put it around, I think this is what it actually looks like. So yeah, I think that was a great one for sure. And I also believe that if everyone starts thinking about it more that way, like rather than thinking in terms of time or money, um, yeah, world would have been a better place for sure. So we need more Suhas
Yeah.
Motwani in this world. Cool,
No
cool, cool.
touch
Any
wood.
new
That's actually lots to
companies?
learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Lots to
yeah. No,
learn the way
absolutely.
everyone operates, but if everyone could
Yeah.
just come in with the give first mentality, the world will
Hmm.
definitely be a much nicer place to live in.
Yeah, yeah. So true. Cool. Any new companies that you're looking around and you know that they are doing some great stuff that you would love to recommend? Um,
Olvy?
yeah, I mean, oh, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, I think what you guys are doing is fantastic. I think love the way you are also
Yeah,
thinking about stuff and building. So
yeah,
definitely recommend a lot of people to check it out for sure. Number one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited with a couple of SaaS products that are coming to market.
Hmm,
I think
hmm,
WorkHack is doing amazing. They're doing
hmm.
something in the
Yeah.
conversational AI space. I'm
Okay.
looking at one, two in again because of TPF. I get to look at a bunch of SaaS tools, either building
Hmm.
for product
Yeah.
managers or the
Or
likes
working with them. Hmm.
working with them. So I think
Hmm.
pretty excited about the SaaS ecosystem shaping up in India for the world.
Interesting.
Um,
Hmm.
let's see how this market shapes them up,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
tough market to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think. Yeah, it's not 2011 that you are the only ones building that one product.
Yeah,
I think that's
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 true
the
actually.
biggest difference, right? Because let's say Dropbox or anything of these were a technologically new stuff that came out as a SaaS at that point of time. Now
Yeah,
you just wake up and like there are 100 competitors just working on this. So that's, I think, the
correct,
biggest
correct.
problem in SaaS, for sure. Sounds good. Like, and then one last thing is that you obviously would be recommending a lot of people and giving, I would say, certainly giving thoughts to these young folks.
Yeah.
If you have, I know you might have been asked, like, but then what are some of these recommendation that you love to give, to anyone who is joining new in, let's say, the community management or the product management space?
I think for this particular one, I'll pick up product management. I think most of your audience
Sure.
will also look at it. I think
Absolutely. Yeah.
today's market is very 2023 is different from 2019 in the sense that back
Sure.
then it was a market of scarcity. We didn't have so much product education out there. Today,
Yeah.
the problem is shifted to the product problem of plenty. There's tons in the market. Everyone's
Hmm.
stuck with, hey, what do I go with? Right.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
simple definition is start thinking of it as slightly long term, right? Product management is always evolving. There will always be
Hmm.
something to learn, right? Last year it was Web3,
Yeah.
today it is AI, tomorrow it will be something else. Product
Correct.
management is not
For
going to
sure.
stop there. But in
Yeah.
your mental model that you're building, the framework you're building,
Hmm.
think of
Hmm.
learning,
Hmm.
mentorship,
Yeah.
networking. Think of these as three
Correct.
different layers. As a parallel,
Right.
for someone looking to
Yeah.
break into product, keep interview prep.
Yeah.
For someone looking to
Yeah.
transition job, keep interview prep. Right? These are two separate
Right.
skill sets. But think of these as
Correct.
four buckets. On the
Right.
education side, at TPF, we have Insurjo,
Hmm.
Product Academy.
Yeah.
Within the
Yeah.
academy, we have PLG, PA,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
in the product space.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
that,
Correct.
pick up anything, whichever you're comfortable with.
Hmm.
If you're comfortable spending $50,
Yeah.
check Udemy. If you're comfortable spending
Hmm.
$5,000, check Reforge.
Hmm.
As is completely
Hmm.
free, you could start from
Hmm.
here, then go ahead. We have some recordings
Hmm.
that also you could,
Hmm.
check out. Anything you pick up on the learning, don't get stuck, but at least pick one and get started. People hoard
Yeah.
information. So many in the name of free,
Correct.
what they do, they'll bookmark thousands of articles and books and
Hmm.
pirated this, pirated
True.
that, and keep. Just do it.
Yeah.
Pick one
Hmm.
and do it. It doesn't matter. Start
Yeah.
somewhere, right? Something
Yeah.
will be
Yeah.
slightly
True.
better than the other. Everyone's putting an effort to
Yeah.
create content, right? So I'm not saying
Absolutely.
pick
Absolutely.
anything and everything, but there are some good
Yeah.
ones. Within those good ones, pick anything. That is how I'd put it,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Second, on the mentorship
Yeah.
here, I truly believe this. I think you don't know what you don't know. Try learning from
Hmm.
someone who is either 2 steps, 5 steps, 10 steps ahead of you, based on what where you are.
Correct.
So either get a peer.
Correct.
Both are important, right? And that's why I said mentorship
Yeah.
and networking. At TPF,
Yeah.
what we've tried to do, we've launched something called Ally, right? Your one-to-one
Hmm.
mentor and friend for life. That's how we call it. And then
Correct.
in the
Correct.
networking, we have GrabChai.online. We do GrabChai and Bits and Atoms offline.
Offline.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
any other community, based on wherever you are,
Hmm.
try being. If you don't find
Hmm.
a community, build a very small tribe, 5, 10 people in your
Yeah.
network who'd be interested in where you are. Meet them regularly,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Very
Correct.
important to start thinking of these three layers. Half a decade from
Yeah.
now, you shouldn't be in a position where you would have to apply to another job. Everything should come to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And if you study people's careers, it has been like that, right? If someone
Yeah.
doesn't do it, these are open source versions of what I said. Now, if you want to have
Correct.
all
Correct.
three together, go do an MBA from ISB. What is it? End of the day, if
Mm.
you break down an
Mm.
ISB from MBA, what is it? Adds on,
Yeah.
other than these three, it adds on the brand layer to it, right? Brand that comes out of it.
Correct.
If you
Correct.
break
Correct.
down the
Correct.
brand, what is it? It is essentially education that you're getting in that 1 year period. It's like a career
Yeah.
accelerator. What is ISB? ISB is a
Cool.
career accelerator. Either you
Correct.
create your
Correct.
own ISB or join one of these, that you get all these three, four things together. Interview prep also happens there.
Agreed.
All four come together,
Agreed.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you do what works for you, right? This is
Yeah.
one framework we have. Tomorrow you could go do an MBA, get the same framework. You could, find parallels for each other, but start thinking a little more
Mm.
holistically rather than, okay, hey, which
Mm.
course do I join that will get me a product
Mm.
management job? No, right?
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
thinking that way. And this could be the same for design. I know design also people are trying to
Agreed.
do. I know any field you pick up. Stop thinking
Yeah.
transactional. Start thinking, 2 years, 4 years from now, what do I enjoy doing?
Yeah.
Eliminate jobs, right? You might do something,
Yeah.
you might not like it. Move on from there. Experiment, right?
Yeah.
The first few
Yeah.
years, why do they say, okay, experiment? Don't get stuck linearly just for when they tell you, okay,
Mm.
hey, important, focus on your work, don't focus on money. This is what they mean, right? The context and the
Yeah.
nuance is this, that, hey,
It's the
real money.
craft that you need to devote yourself to rather than
Exactly,
thinking
exactly.
about ki what I'll get out of this.
Even before craft, what do I enjoy doing? Right? You can
Yeah.
never compete
True.
with someone who enjoys what they're doing. Inherent talent,
Hmm.
yes, right? That is something you are born with. If you can figure out what
Yeah.
your inherent talent is, please double down on that.
That's
If you
great.
can't do
Yeah.
a lot of things to figure out what your talent is, because if someone loves what they're doing and they are good at it, you put in
Hmm.
thousands of hours of effort. There's not something even I agreed with, This is what Shreyas
Hmm.
Doshi told me, and he
Hmm.
repeated it in our cohort 2 days back, and there was
Hmm.
someone who was
Yeah.
so upset that he said this,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
even I related with him because this is how I felt about it. I was like, no, talent,
Yeah.
I mean, hard work is everything, dude. If you put in hard work,
Hmm.
I can beat. But
Hmm.
if you actually sit and think, if there is someone
Yeah.
who is Sachin Tendulkar, like Sachin was born
Hmm.
at the age of 16.
With
If you're
the
smashing Wasim Akram
correct.
across the park, that is some inherent
Correct.
talent. Not everyone can do
Yeah.
this. And hard work comes
Absolutely.
everywhere. When he is doing hard work, even you'll
Yeah.
do hard work. But can you be a Sachin
Yeah.
Tendulkar? No.
No. Correct.
99 out of 99.9% you will not be able to match that up,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
right?
True. True.
So
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
why I say
But
that start
then,
thinking slightly beyond, that
yeah.
0 to. It's not
Yeah.
easy, right? At the first step, when
Yeah.
you don't have a
For
product job, all you can think about is how do I get there. But if you do this,
right.
like they
Yeah.
say, do the harder things first because then life becomes
Hmm.
easier. Start,
Yeah.
start,
Yeah.
start
Yeah. No.
thinking about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. But then I have this one thought around talent is that sometimes talent can be built by if you just do that one thing for years. Like if you wake up and just do that one thing every
You'll
day.
be great.
Uh,
You'll be great.
yeah, it
I'm not saying you won't be
exactly.
great. You put in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
10,000 hours, you'll be great. But
yeah.
if that is in a space that you are really good at already, inherently everyone has
Right.
slight talent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
see,
Yeah,
I'll tell
yeah.
you for a
True.
fact, if I put 10,000 hours in something that I don't like doing, but I'm doing it because the
Correct.
world thinks product management is great, it's a great career because it will give me so much money.
Mm.
Whatever
Mm.
said and done, I will not be. Even if I put 10,000 hours, I'll still not be the
True.
best.
Correct. Correct.
If you
Correct.
enjoy what you're doing, inherently no one can
Mm.
compete with you, because
Yeah.
that people tell, hustle and hustle culture. I
Yeah.
love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to think. I'll put 14 hours without
Huh.
even blinking an eye.
Exactly, exactly. So even like people, how they are looking at hustle is they're not understanding the mindset that this person is coming out of because that is not hustle for them. Like the person who's
Correct.
putting in like 18 hours or so, it's like another day for them to just enjoy their own work, right?
Exactly right. Exactly.
True, true, true. I think with that said, I think this was an amazing conversation, Suhas, and just on you, like, did you feel good talking,
I loved
and
it, bro.
what do you
Always,
think?
always good
Good.
chatting with you, regardless whether it is online or offline.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
all the best with this initiative. I think with product.
Yeah.
Excited to see this episode.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Thanks a lot for joining in.
Anytime.
And pretty grateful to be, I would say, a friend of yours. So yeah.
No, no, lots of things to do
Cool.
together. All the best with all these
Yeah.
and product humor. And I will
Yeah.
catch you soon.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Bye bye.
See you.